Goodman Podcast. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to have Ilissa Miller all the way from New York. So let's get right into it. Tell us, Ilissa, who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Raj, first off, I want to thank you for having me on your program. It is a pleasure to meet you and to speak with you and to have your listeners learn a bit more about myself. Ilissa Miller, who am I? I am a New York born and bred professional in the global digital infrastructure industry. I run a public relations firm that specializes in global digital infrastructure, and that is the industry that I literally grew up in professionally. I started in digital infrastructure in 1996 following the passing of the 96 Telecommunications Act, and have grown up and evolved with the digital infrastructure industry. And so, yeah, that's who I am. I'm passionate about that. I have incredible integrity, I think, in regards to being able to deliver on promises and following through on my word. And I take great pride in being able to tell the stories of the way digital infrastructure has evolved and has changed the world.
That's phenomenal. A rare combination of New York born and bred. It seems to me that everybody I know from New York wasn't born there, just migrated to New York. So that's awesome. And then you got PR and you got obviously communications in PR, but also telecom and tech, which is incredible. Tell me, how do you manage, technology and PR, something which goes really well, but not a lot of people know about it. Tell us, how did you get into this?
Yeah, I lucked out. I got recruited by a recruiter that I worked for into the industry. He knew that I didn't want to be a recruiter, but I wanted to find something that I can learn and grow into and develop a professional path on. And that happened to have started right when this Telecoms Act passed, which opened up competition, which launched new businesses, at least here in the US. And it evolved globally, right, with regulation and ease of entry into markets and competitive landscapes and all of that stuff. But back then, we were still in the PTT mode where, it was the Post Telegraph and telecom companies. And that has evolved, right, to CLECs and competitive environments and all of that. And I saw that the industry was at a budding point, right? The internet had just come out. AOL was sending floppy disks out and people were dialing up, getting on the internet. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And I wanted to be part of it. And so here I am. I'm being part of it. And it's an honor and a pleasure to do what I do.
That's incredible. And obviously from the AOL floppies and CDs to today, obviously all being on high-speed internet, how do you see the industry being evolving? I mean, where do you see the industry going today with PR and with telecom as well?
Right. The industry is going to evolve to whatever our collective imaginations want it to evolve to. That's really what it comes down to. And right now we're in a brand new evolutionary era with the advent of AI. And AI now being accessible and available to the masses. You no longer need to be, at a higher, education or research institute to be able to do these large language, transmissions and, being able to ask for things, right? ChatGPT upended and changed the way that you and I and any general internet user looks at AI. We still have not realized or foreseen the actual outcome of what that will do to change this world. We're on the cusp of that right now. And I'm going to just tell your readers to hold on tight. It's going to be a wild and crazy ride. Sit back, relax, and enjoy it while you can.
Completely agree with you, Ilissa. 20 years back, I embarked on a PhD in AI. And I can tell you at that point, I would not imagine in a wild imagination we will have the progress we have in AI today. Oh boy, everybody is impacted by it. Do you see the telecom market, hosting market, cloud computing market, all being impacted by AI as well? Do you see that that's going to be a big thing in the coming days, weeks, months?
Yeah, so there's two angles that I look at AI and its effect on the world and digital infrastructure. There's one of being able to deliver on the promise of AI. And AI, if you really break down what it is, it's literally software as a service. AI runs over the cloud or runs over the internet. It does require storage like any kind of cloud or hosting solution, any kind of software solution, right? AI just needs a lot more, right? Because of the processing and compute power AI requires and the different tentacles that it needs to feed in order to be able to get that information accurately. And so many of the companies today in the global digital infrastructure industry are building out the infrastructure to support these AI applications, right? The bigger pipes, larger energy capabilities in data centers, it's interconnection, it's clustering different types of capabilities so that you can reduce the lag and improve performance for AI. So all of that is happening. That is happening, and I'll be honest with you, mostly for every other company except for digital infrastructure companies. In my experience, at least over the past 25, almost 30 years now, our industry is the last to adopt any kind of evolving technology solutions because we're so busy helping everyone else, providing that service to enable them, that our own infrastructure and our own systems and optimization and all of that stuff lags in innovation and adopting AI technologies. That will also come because it's a symbiotic learning experience as we are upgrading, enhancing, and enabling AI for enterprises, for government, for research, education, and any other businesses that are using that. We're also learning about how that might be able to apply to be better and more efficient in optimizing. It took us a long time as an industry to get software-defined networking more widely adopted. And that's still not being widely adopted. They're still in technology. Those that run the underlying infrastructure really value the people behind it. And if you rescind too much to AI or any other automated technology, then you may lose a grasp of how it works, how to be better and efficient, and be able to manage business operations more effectively. And so, yeah, there's these two parallel paths. We're enabling everyone else to be able to use AI. We're learning in that process, but we have yet to develop and fully implement AI solutions that help routing and improve service delivery quality, costs, and all of those things that come in with the benefits of any kind of software solution.
Completely agree with you. I believe with the advent of AI and other such advancements, we'll see a high load, not only data centers, but as you mentioned, energy as well. So it's going to be a lot of adoption. But also, I've been hearing talks about green data centers, making it more eco-friendly. Are you hearing about that as well in your world, Ilissa? If so, what are your thoughts on it, and what are things coming currently to make that a possibility?
Yeah, a great question. So green data center, sustainability efforts. Yeah, the data center industry is running into a power wall, meaning that the expected demand for power and energy consumption is outpacing the ability to deliver those energy solutions. Not only that, but it's outpacing the ability to meet the global sustainability requirements that are set out to be able to reduce carbon output and all of those things. And so there are a number of efforts underway by large data center developers and operators to do data centers better, to think about the ramifications of that growth, think about how we can leverage today technology to be more efficient with energy use and finding different ways to buy power sources that are sustainable and renewable power sources. But we're limited, at least here in the United States. We have limitations. We don't have, a lot of natural resources spread out throughout the country in order to be able to leverage renewable energy. And so there's look at using different kinds of solutions, whether it's batteries or nuclear power or other things. But with any of the innovative or cleaner energy solutions, you're going to have, especially with nuclear, you're going to have pushback in communities because there's lack of understanding, awareness, there are safety concerns. And so I'm going to go a little long here. I apologize in advance because
That's great.
we're at a strange point, at least from the perspective of the US, and it's happening elsewhere as well, where we have a lot of governments that are funding broadband build outs, right? To bridge the digital divide, to bring connectivity to communities. But whenever you're building network to support the delivery and exchange of a lot more data that will enable, everybody to be able to stream multiple, streams of data to do online gaming and video conferencing like we're doing across the world. When that happens, you also need data centers, right? Data centers are where data is stored, housed, exchanged, optimized. You got your backup, you got your primary, all of that. Everything lives in a data center. And as we're building out broadband infrastructure, at least here in the US, there's also pushback on data centers because what's left out of the funding from the federal government is the understanding, awareness, and education of what data centers do and why they must be part of the puzzle when creating digital infrastructure. People don't understand why these data centers are required, why they need to be so big, why they need to have so much energy and power. And I wish we could just reflect a mirror back to them to say, because you're on your phone and you're on your Netflix and you're on all of these streaming and gaming things and doing everything online. And we're transitioning to a digital world, and a digital world needs those data centers. And it is the number one challenge because we are moving at a pace faster than innovation can keep up. And therefore, we have to be adaptable and open-minded and explorative about what all of the options are so we can do better, we can be more sustainable, we can get renewable power sources, that we can optimize the way that we manage compute infrastructure so that can reduce energy. And there's all sorts of things that we do in the data center industry to do that.
And that's amazing. I mean, obviously, this is not only a US problem, this is a global problem. We all are consuming more data on our phones, tablets, computers, whether it's at office, whether it's at home. And it's going to just keep going up with the growth of VR, AI, you name it. Obviously, that also brings the question about leveraging things like 5G and other digital infrastructures. Anything perhaps you have seen in your world which is impacting, or are they seeing anything innovative there in the 5G leveraging sector or section?
Yeah, absolutely. Back in 2012, I acquired an association called the Northeast DAS and Small Cell Association. And I ran that, and I continue to operate programming for it. We call it NEDAS today. And the purpose of that was back in the day, right? This is 2012 already. This is, more than a dozen years ago. The purpose was to educate about wireline and wireless convergence. Because at the end of the day, you can't have a wireless network, right? A mobile network, a 5G network, without it having access to wireline infrastructure. It all feeds right back into that data center, right? Whether it's, transmitted through, the air or transmitted on a wire, ultimately it gets back to that data center. And it gets back to that data center through some sort of wireline connection, right? Whether it's an antenna on that roof and it converts it back into the wire and brings it right back in. So I want to start there. And what's happening now, because of that deeper understanding, the silos between wireless and wireline are starting to break down. There's more integration happening at companies that are trying to solve the problem for being able to transmit large swaths of data over mobile networks, right? That's where 5G comes in. 5G promises to be able to deliver, right, the speed of fiber in wireless connectivity. And so that's also shifting the architecture of digital infrastructure, because if those cell towers, those small cells, so if those cell sites have a lot of data coming in, then you want to put an edge data center, a module edge data center, as close to that cell tower and site as you possibly can, because that's where data is processed, stored, exchanged, etc. And we are constantly exchanging data between wireline and wireless networks and vice versa. If you have that inter-exchange point at the closest point where that data is coming in, like a cell tower, you can improve performance, efficiency, and effectiveness of your network and be able to have more distributed capabilities, which again increases the quality of the reliability on that infrastructure.
That's phenomenal. I completely agree with you. Policymakers, lawmakers, to forget about that there is a requirement for these. I believe in some rural communities still 3G. I mean, 5G is a
luxury, right?
would be an awesome thing to have. But yes, luxury, absolutely. But for the timing, so that's also true in the UK as well. Some towns and cities don't see any 5G whatsoever. If they get a 4G signal, they'd be like, wow, that's amazing. We definitely have a challenge here. So obviously, this is something that's really important. In your world, how does PR help with this? How does PR help the campaigning for this? Or how does PR help companies to achieve what they want to go and achieve for their customers?
Great question. And thank you for asking, because I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but I wasn't as direct. Digital infrastructure is basically our transport superhighway that moves data bits of traffic, right? You need the roadways, you need your inter-exchange points, your exits, your on and off ramps, all of that stuff. And you need to be able to connect to multiple roads. You need your local roads, your county roads, your federal roads, all of that kind of stuff. It's a physical digital highway. And the beauty about digital infrastructure is that that highway runs under the sea, connecting continents, right? So you might not see or hear or appreciate it. That's the problem, is that everybody is using digital infrastructure, but they don't care how it works. And how it works is so important to understand what is needed in order to be able to support the growth and the demand, so that we can all create the technology future that we have in our minds. And without the inherent understanding of what it is, why it's important, and how it works, right? Again, how it works is so key. There are people that push back. And a great example is in the United States, in Northern Virginia, Ashburn. It's, the center of the internet, they say, right, in the world. And there's a lot of data centers there. There's hundreds, over 300 data centers in Ashburn. And as that market is expanding, especially south, there have been protests against, big data center developments in Prince William County, as an example. And protesters come out, they live stream their protest, they put it up on Facebook and social media and share it. And they don't realize they're literally feeding the machine. They don't realize they're fighting exactly what they're propagating. And that is the problem. If people don't understand what it is and how it works, they're fighting themselves. And PR can help to tell those stories to whatever stakeholder market needs those stories told. Sometimes, and most of the time, it's the B2B market, right? We're telling each other, right, how our technology works, why it matters. Here's a new service. Here's a new location, all of those things. That's all really important. That's, I call it the steady drumbeat of PR. But when it comes to the masses, right, that's also where stories can be told. And that's where an education outreach initiative is required within communities, within all the key stakeholders, from the government and legislatures and regulators, all the way down to individual residents who may feel like they have something coming into their community that they don't want, until they realize that will improve my digital experience or maybe there's a way that we can work together. And there's usually not a black and white solution to any of this. It's usually about engaging with the community, making sure that we listen and tune into community needs, and being able to work with them, compromise, and give communities back what they need. At the end of the day, a data center in a local community helps to keep data local and improves performance. But again, without that education, without that ability to reach just any person in the world who needs to know this, it becomes more and more challenging. And so that is the magic of PR, to be able to reach, educate, amplify messages, to discern what's happening in a market, and to help educate them as to why it matters. And once you can do that, it helps to transform and evolve a community and to better understand how they too can compromise with what's coming.
That's awesome. I can see the power and your passion for helping data centers and communities to leverage and understand technology better. Obviously, PR is a umbrella term. It covers a lot of different areas. And for somebody who is new to it, perhaps it's a business. Could you go through a campaign, how it might look like? Is it more text-based? Is it more video-based? Is it more radio, for example? How do you go about a PR campaign like this? What it might look like?
Great question. So for me, PR, public relations, is literally managing a company's relationship with its public. So the first thing when I talk to people about PR is I remind them it's not just about media and analyst relations. It is literally about engaging with any of your public. It could be your customers, your prospects, your partners, associations, regulators, anybody, right? Anybody that needs to interact with your company. So it all starts there. And a campaign, any kind of campaign, also starts with, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals, right? And if a company doesn't know what their goals are, then you have to inch forward so that they can have a sense of what PR can do for them. But let's say, it's in your scenario, you asked for an example. Let's say it is a company looking to launch a product or a service, right? Maybe it's a new subsidiary. You want to consider and plan out as far as you can what that message is, why it matters, and do a basic messaging platform for it that covers literally the who, what, why, where, when, and how. Once you know all of that about what your message is and why it matters and who it matters to, then you could go to market with a variety of tools that help to amplify that message in the market. It could start with a press release. A press release is basically a footprint, right? It's like a breadcrumb in the marketplace. Press releases serve as storyline breadcrumbs if you use them correctly. You plant them out there, companies then can look at that, but you have to follow through on that. You may want to do analyst relations, because analysts write reports about things. They're getting paid by the large customers to let them know what's going on and who's doing what in the marketplace. So you want to build a strong relationship with analysts. They then help to inform journalists in the marketplace. You could do press conferences using tools just like this one. As a matter of fact, we had a client yesterday who did a YouTube press conference to announce some projects and to get more information out to the market. It's a phenomenal tool because you have that press conference recorded as well. And that recording can be transcribed, and therefore you then have content to be able to write a number of stories about that. You can write blogs, thought leadership articles, and other information in the marketplace. And then you want to look at all the other influential channels out in the market, just like a program like this. Podcast programs are great. And getting your executives to tell the story about their company, but also why these products and services are so important. So you want to integrate that and get that out in as many different places. PR is a little bit different than marketing. Marketing, they say that you need to have at least 16 touch points in marketing to be able to get your message heard. And so if we translate that to PR and assume we have to have 16 touch points on the same message in order for that to be reverberated in the marketplace. You want to make sure that whatever campaign you're doing has legs beyond the announcement and beyond that initial push. The problem that we have today in the business world is people are impatient and they don't have a lot of attention. And so they lose, right, that momentum. They lose interest fairly quickly in their own stuff. They forget that the marketplace needs at least 16 touch points to have that really embed in their brain and to understand what's going on. So making sure that you're not giving up on getting your message out there too soon and that you're finding creative ways to continue to infiltrate that. It could be award opportunities, speaking opportunities at events that overlay on top of that, thought leadership. Why is something important in the market, right? Being able to write an article and submit and get that published by third-party publications, that's key to success. And then all of those efforts are amplified even further on social media. Social media is a powerful tool because you are in control of your entire content and storyline. And you can do videos, and you could do podcasts and blogs and articles and newsletters and other bits of information to be able to consistently get that into the market. I said that PRs, right, are super important. They're a baseline. They help to tell the story of a brand. It gives you that breadcrumb, right, in the market, your footsteps in the marketplace. But you also want to think about a steady drumbeat of activities that are consistently getting information out and identifying ways to reach multiple different markets that are important for your message. And frankly, in the data center industry, there are some companies that focus only on large scale data center developments. That means that they have a very limited and very small target number of companies that they're reaching. It's the same thing, but you also have to look at all the influencers, decision makers, and people with the opinions and thoughts and all of those things within those companies that you're trying to get your message to so that you can educate and reach out to them. And so you want to think of PR as just consistently educating the who, what, why, where, when, and how, and going deeper and deeper into that as you get out to the market until you hit your target buyer and you're able to speak with them about how this will solve their problems.
That's awesome. I think it's the best explanation I've ever heard of PR. I think most comprehensive one. So well done, Ilissa, for that. That's awesome. I'm going to end this one with one of the last questions. Be a bit of a curveball, only because I'm interested to hear. So I'm currently working on a lot of research in AI and AI optimization. Think of it like SEO for ChatGPT like tools. In your opinion, as we are seeing people migrate towards ChatGPT, as mentioned earlier, and Google adopting generative search engines, so they're going to have AI built into it and they're going to show that data first. What do you feel is going to happen to the customers who have been optimizing for SEO and for other sorts of social media? You think that's going to change quite a lot? You think it's going to be the same? How do you see the AI coming into our world to change the ecosystem we all belong to as marketeers?
It's a really good question. And I don't know if I'm going to answer it to the expectation that you may have, but I will give you an answer based off of the challenge that I'm observing with the use of AI. And the challenge I observe is that it requires people to understand A, how things work, and B, how to ask questions, the prompts. Prompts are key for AI use in anything. AI can give you your terms, right? It can give you your hashtags and your keywords. AI can do that for you. AI can rewrite content for you. Using your preferred terms and hashtags, you can feed all that in and tell AI how to sprinkle it in and do all of that. So AI could be a tool to improve and enhance the way that people do SEO. right? Because it is, feeding the machine that is processing, right, all of that information anyway. The key here is you need to know how it works and how to prompt it. And that's the number one problem that I am seeing, especially with, younger professionals who may not know or be comfortable in asking questions or may not know how to navigate, whether it's a person or an AI bot, how to get the information that they need. Because if you need to know and have a good idea of what the outcome looks like, you need to have an understanding of how things work and why it all matters in order to be able to prompt and get you exactly what you need. And without those things, without that underlying knowledge, you're only cutting the surface, and AI can't anticipate and solve problems that humans are uniquely designed to solve. I'm a big disbeliever that AI is going to replace humans in the work. It's just going to change the way humans work. That's all it's going to do. And you have to be a bit smarter, more understanding, and more adept at being able to be curious and explore what AI can actually do for you. And that takes time, that takes patience and know-how to do. And in an era where we are headline readers, where it takes more than 16 touch points to educate a market, and, people don't have the attention spans, learning the things you need to learn can seem daunting and overwhelming. And that's literally where I encourage everyone to start, is how do things work? And then you can use AI to be able to get you to the goals that you have in mind.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Ilissa. I very appreciate it. All right. So we're coming towards the end of the show. Ilissa, where can we find you if you want to look for you on the big old World Wide Web? Where do we find you?
So my company is global, and I welcome to hear from anyone and everyone. So you can find me through my company. My company is iMiller Public Relations. You can find us at imillerpr.com, IMILLERPR.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Ilissa Miller. My first name is ILISSA Miller. I am on LinkedIn. Let me know how you found me. If you listen to this program, I always appreciate that. So I look forward to hearing from you, and don't ever hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, Ilissa. And for listeners, this has been an awesome show. I'm sure you agree. If you have any questions or thoughts, please put them into the comment section, and we'll get Ilissa hopefully to answer those questions via LinkedIn or via emails. Ilissa, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Lovely to have you here, and look forward to catching up with you very soon, perhaps on the following podcast.
Raj, what a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on your program.
Thank you.